Hello, Isabel.
Hi.
Your audio sounds good. Chantal, how about you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. All right. I'm finish pulling up my stuff here. Close this one. Open. Open. Okay. Hi, Jean.
Hi there, how are you?
Very good. Very good.
I'm just going to get myself set up and I'll be ready to chat.
Not a problem. Welcome, Tatiana. And hi, Tom. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Okay, so we got it looks like we have some latecomers. I think we'll just give them a few more minutes to join in and set up.
How many people are you expecting, Rachel?
Not many, but I am waiting on the counselor. We're also recording this for posterity, so he can also circle back when he does join, if he needs to.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we can do is get started. I'm going to turn my video on so everybody can see me. Okay, there we go. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel, which is College Ward 8 at Rick Shirelli, for those of us who can't join us today. Another reminder is to please keep your microphone on mute. If you have a question, just raise your hand using the bottom on the bottom of the screen. You should have a button down there rather. And when we get to the Q&A section, what we'll do is I'll call on you and then you can ask your question. If you're experiencing connection issues, if you're finding we're blipping in and out, sometimes keeping the video turned off is really beneficial to keeping that communication open. And if you want to see the person who is speaking, just select the speaker view on your screen instead of the gallery view. So today we were going to be actually hearing from the counselor when he joins. However, we do have a guest here, Isabel Jasmine. She is our deputy treasurer, and she'll be presenting some information provided to us from the finance department. Following that, we will be doing questions and answers from our attendees. And after that, we will close the meeting with a recap and overview of ward activity over the past year, over 2020. So with that in mind, let's start with Isabel. If you're ready, I will share my screen. I just need to find it.
I'm glad you're doing this.
No problem, no problem. Oh, it's right in front of me. Okay, yes. And for some reason, okay, too many buttons. Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay, so I will, oh, hold on. There we go. That's embarrassing. Opening operating.
Oh, if you put it in presentation mode, go at the very bottom. There's a square with a line coming out the bottom. Click on that. Keep going right, further right.
For the right over here?
Just at the very bottom, there's a square with a line coming out the bottom. Go left, further left. Yeah, right there. Click that.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. All right, so my name is Isabel Jasmine and I'm the Deputy City Treasurer, and my team is responsible for pulling together the budget for the city. I will be giving a short overview of the city's budget, its composition, the budget process, and ways in which you can provide input to that process. Okay, next slide. So there's an overarching framework for determining how much needs to be collected from taxes to pay for city services. We can work backwards from a tax target or build up to a number, but really it is best to start with a target to make sure budgets remain affordable. The city must estimate and determine any increases to expenditures resulting from inflation, increases from collective agreements, changes in regulation, legislation, growth to service new neighborhoods, and changes in funding from other levels of government. These are then offset by savings from efficiencies that can be achieved from operations, increases in revenues from fees that are charged directly to users of the city services, and taxes from new assessment that particularly help to pay for increased operating and infrastructure costs to service these new neighborhoods. This year, we also have to consider any additional budget pressures we expect from continuing to operate in a COVID pandemic environment if it continues into 2021. Okay. So the total operating budget for 2020 was $3.76 billion. Close to 60% of the operating budget is made up of 4 key services: water and sewer, police services, transit, and community and social services. Much of the revenue for these services comes from sources other than tax. Water and sewer is paid for by revenue from the water bill. Half of transit operating costs are paid for by fare revenue, and over 80% of community and social services are paid for by provincial and federal funding. Roughly 14% of the operating budget goes towards capital cash reserves to help pay for infrastructure renewal and growth, and the remaining 36% of the budget covers all other services delivered by the city. Okay. So here you can see that just over 50% of revenue comes from taxes and payment in lieu of taxes. Another 19% comes from federal and provincial grants, 25% from fees and charges such as the water bill and transit fares and park and recreational fees. Okay. So the capital budget for 2020 was $813 million. The high asset intensive areas are primarily for water and sewer services, transit and transportation, which includes roads. 66% of the capital budget for tax supported services is for the renewal or replacement of aging infrastructure. And on the rate side, for water and sewer, 84% is for renewal of assets. The remainder is for growth, which is primarily funded by development charges, and there is also a small number of projects identified for regulatory or strategic initiatives. What is not included in this total are projects of a strategic importance that are not approved as part of the budgeting process, but require a separate report and approval from council. Examples include the light rail project or the central library. Okay. So as you can see here, 60% of capital funding comes from the cash reserves put aside as a capital contribution from the operating budget. The remainder of the capital program is funded by debt, funding from other levels of government, and development charges. Okay. So this slide is intended to show that there's very little discretion to reduce spending for many of the city's services. The police budget is tabled separately, and council does not have the discretion to make line item changes. They can only approve or reject the budget in its entirety. Budget reductions in other areas like transit, fire, paramedics, and roads must be accompanied by changes in service standards. There's also a long list of services or expenditures where there is no discretion because these services are mandated or regulated or mandatory, such as long-term care, public health, housing, and debt charges. There is little more discretion in areas funded by fees, where the fees can be increased to recover the cost of delivering the services, or in areas where there are no specific service standards or for administrative support services. Okay. So council approved the budget directions for 2021, which are summarized here. A municipal tax target set at 3% overall, which includes a citywide levy of 2.5%, Ottawa Police Services levy of 3%, transit levy of 4.6%, which includes a $5 million increase to the contribution of capital to replace a canceled provincial gas tax increase. The annual additional taxation revenues from growth are forecasted to be 1.5%. And the rate programs increase revenue by 4.8% overall. And that's aligned with the long-range financial plan. And that's for water, wastewater, and stormwater services. And all user fees and charges increase in accordance with the fiscal framework, or the long-range financial plan. We have a long-range financial plan for each of the tax rate and transit areas. It's a 10-year plan showing how much we need for operating and for capital. And we base a lot of our budget directions on the requirements from those plans. And then the capital budget must be developed in accordance with the direction outlined in the background study and the long-range financial plan and fiscal framework. Next slide. So the budget directions were approved on October 14th, and public consultations are taking place throughout October. All budgets will be tabled with council and the various boards and commissions on November 4th. From that date to December 9th, the individual budgets for each committee, board, and commission are reviewed. It is at these meetings that the public has another opportunity to provide feedback and input on the budget via public delegations. Then the budget is approved by committee of the whole and council on December 9th. Individual committees have the flexibility to make recommendations to make budget changes that could be funded from reductions in other committee budgets. Final approval of these recommendations would be made on December 9th by council. Okay. This is a list of the budget meetings at which public delegations can provide input and recommendations. The list can be found on the city's website and is updated if there are any changes made to the dates. And the last slide. So there's several resources available to you and ways that you can provide input to the budget throughout the year. Engage Ottawa provides a comprehensive online engagement platform that allows you to connect with the city in an interactive manner. To provide input, you can complete the online survey, send comments via Engage Ottawa, or contact your councillor. You can also get additional information on the city's website at ottawa.ca/budget. All feedback is reviewed and considered. Your participation in this public meeting today is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to hearing from you and your thoughts and answering any financial questions you may have. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna figure out how to, oh, there we go. Perfect. Here I am. So did you want to take some questions now, or did you want to wait, Isabel?
This is councillor coming. It's a councillor-led discussion, so I'm just here for support if there's any financial questions of a technical nature. I can answer questions if there are any.
Okay. I am going to, the councillor has joined us, and oh, there he is. Councillor, did you want to say say a few words? I need you to unmute.
Well, thank you everyone for coming, and I guess we could just get right into some questions. I know in the past couple of weeks, people have been writing into us constantly saying defund the police, take away all their money and all that kind of thing. That's not even possible in the province of Ontario, because the way policing works, the police chief designs how policing will operate and sends a bill for that to the city, and the city either pays it or does not pay it. And if we don't pay it, it goes on appeal to the province, which then decides whether we will pay it or not, or how much more or how much less we'll pay. That's just how police budgeting works.
Thank you,
Okay,
councillor. I'm sorry.
so if there are any other questions, I mean, that would be good.
Okay. I do see a hand up here. Tatiana, did you want to ask your question? Tatiana?
Is she on mute?
She just unmuted. Go ahead, Tatiana. Sorry, Tatiana, we cannot hear you. Okay. Tatiana, we're going to put you on mute for a moment and we'll come back to you as soon as we can figure out what's going on with the microphone. Okay, thank you. Now, we have a Matthias Word here from Bel Air Community, and he did submit some questions beforehand. Did you want to go ahead and answer your questions, Matthias?
Yes, I can do that. Can you hear me now, Rachel?
Perfect.
My question has both a generic and a specific to it. This is all operating budget, and I understand that this is the context of this meeting. But what I was wondering is in the context of long-term debt, long-term contracts, maybe these are capital expenses. I didn't see anything like in the revenues and things like how much is being paid on the debt, how much deficit. So my generic question is, with the COVID-caused debt and projected transit deficits requiring sort of a multi-year recovery strategy, can contracts that are currently in approval state but not yet completed be included in the budget considerations somewhere or in the city's strategic recovery plan? So for instance, can the city enter back into negotiations with contractors for cost savings or project deferrals or lifetime extensions on the project to sort of spread it out over more years, just like a family would do if they were in the middle of a renovation, when all of a sudden the family income is reduced or interrupted? You would trade off granite countertops for laminate, custom cabinets for off-the-shelf cabinets. All levels of government need support from all levels of the population, including our contracted companies, to recover from this deficit situation and this debt situation. That's my generic question. And my specific question is related to many homeowners in my area and my community association, the Bel Air Community Association. We continue to advocate for a cheaper solution to be implemented. There was 3 options on the table and the city chose the most expensive. We would advocate for the cheaper solution to manage baseline station stormwater in the LRT Phase 2 project. The city wishes to build and has approved and signed contracts as part of Stage 2, a $20 million contract to build a pond that would require 30,000 truckloads of excavation and all the carbon emissions required for that excavation and transporting the landfill out to the Trail Road land site. They want to do that $20 million when there was an $8 million solution at Baseline Station. Plus, as Phase 3 gets kicked off, a more comprehensive solution probably exists that would expand the footprint of the waters contained. At the moment, the proposal only contains sort of half of the waters in the watershed. There's another half on the other side of Woodruff Avenue that are being left untreated. So back to the generic question, can the city not save some money by going back into contracts, advocating for cheaper solutions, such as this stormwater management cheaper solution at Baseline Station, which is one of the 3 options the city neglected in lieu of choosing the more expensive option? Thank you.
I'm not sure, Councillor, did you want to answer that? Or I'm not a contracting expert, but I mean, I can start and say that we go through an RFP process to get the best value. That is what we do at the very beginning of the contracting stage. I don't know the details of this particular concern. We noted your concerns, and I assume you've been talking to others in the city with this issue and have shared your thoughts and concerns there.
Yeah,
Yes.
the community's done a lot of work on this.
Yeah.
And all of us, including I, have been opposed to the solution the city actually took. And the main reason for picking it, I guess, was to be able to roll it in to the same contract, or one of the same contracts being used for the LRT. But there were cheaper solutions on the table. So I guess they'd want to know what would be the best way to get that pursued.
So unfortunately, I'm not a contracting expert. That would be the Chief Procurement Officer. He's not here today. But if you submit your question to your councillor, we'll make sure to share that.
Very good. So in budget negotiations, do looking for cheaper solutions that are in contracts, do they not come into play?
That's supposed to come into play. I know when I met with the mayor, that was one of the main goals.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank
So
you.
just, if you could just get me another letter on that, then I will pass it to the right people in the context of this budget.
Okay, thank you again, Councillor.
Thanks, Matthias. Okay, I was just chatting with Tatiana. She has a question, ward related. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question, Tatiana? Need you to unmute, dear. Okay. Seems we may be having a little bit of technical difficulties. So we'll move along. And Tatiana, would you mind sending an email to Chantal LaBelle and she can help you out? That'd be great. Thank you so much. Next, I see here we have Jean Willan. She's the president of the Community Association for Bel Air. She has some questions to ask as well. Jean, did you want to go ahead? Oops, sorry.
All right, can you hear me all right,
Perfect.
Rachel?
Yep, there you are.
Okay. I just wanted to, well, thank Matt for bringing forward about the stormwater pond issue, because the Bel Air Community Association, we have definitely opposed the solution that was chosen because it was a very expensive option, $20 million, when there is a much less expensive option. So hopefully there will be a way that we can revisit this contract. So thanks, Matt, for bringing that forward. The issue, one of the top issues in our community that I'm sure it's going on in other communities, is the amount of speeding in and around the schools and well, and on our streets, which we have absolutely no sidewalks. So we are wondering within the budget, it is budget related, this question, whether I heard that the camera radars that were set up in the school zones were good at making, generating some income for the city. And my question is, could we as a community get one of these photo radars in around our schools, rotate it through so that we could help the city generate some money and reduce the speeding in our neighborhood? So that was one of our suggestions. I know we're going to have a difficult time over this next while with budgets, but that would be a way to generate some money for revenue for the city. Is that a possibility? And I do have another question after that.
Yeah, so that's actually a traffic services question. They have a process for identifying those, and they are not, they're just doing a pilot right now to see what the results are of putting in the first 4, and are looking to increase that possibly in 2021. So right now it is at a pilot stage. They're going to report back to council in terms of the results of that pilot. And depending on the results of that, they'll either expand or identify different areas where that can be implemented. And any revenue that comes in from that goes back to safety measures.
But right now, the legislation is that photo radar can only be in school zones at the pilot stage.
That actually would be perfect, because that seems to be where we're getting a lot of the speeding through on our community. We have one school that is very close to Woodruff, and it's a cut-through street. It's Field Street, and people cut through there all the time. It is, I think, a 50 kilometer zone, and it doesn't reduce its speed in front of the school. And there's been numerous accidents on that street. And actually on Saturday night, a drunk driver came into our community, we believe via that street, and actually smashed into 4 different vehicles in our community before he was apprehended by the police. So people do cut through, and they're cutting through at very fast speeds, and there's been a number of accidents. And just this summer in August, again, another person was cutting through, driving really fast past that school and rammed into the back of a parked car. So the 4 cars that were hit on Saturday were all parked cars, and the one in August was a parked car. So people are coming through the community way too fast off of Woodruff. So we would really like to push for that, and we are hoping the councillor will support us. And do we put a request in then directly to the traffic committee to ask them if we could become part of that plan for the future?
You can send it into my office and we will send it on to the right people.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, for the request of the photo radar, yes, we have actually done. We already have reached out, and right now they're still waiting for the results of the pilot project before they start considering widening the areas that they're going to rotate them through.
Okay.
Yeah, but you are on the list to be
Okay.
reviewed. Yeah.
And if there is any other suggestions that the councillor's office or the traffic committee have in how we can slow down traffic in our community, it would be greatly appreciated. I know people have talked about speed bumps or reconfiguring, but you know, we've got the Iris is very, very fast. We've got Navajo. And just to say thank you very much for supporting and getting a crossing guard at the corner of Navajo and Agincourt. That was needed because there's children crossing there. We don't have very many sidewalks in our community, so a lot of the children are actually walking in the middle of the street as these cars are driving down at fast speeds.
Yeah. Well,
So-
well, Jean, I just wanted to interrupt you
Yep, no
because
problem.
I just wanted to point out that I'm actually preparing some feedback for you regarding the traffic issues at your AGM on Sunday.
Okay,
So we can discuss those items at that time, because I
Okay.
do have some updates for you that we want to share with you and your executive. So, but do we have any more questions about the budget itself? I mean, I know sidewalks are definitely budget related. However, right now we have a lot of capital projects being on hold. I believe the number was 33 to offset the projected deficits for the next year. So it's something we need to look for in the future. But in the meantime, we do have some other traffic calming options coming up. And I do have a list from the traffic department of what's being looked at right now. So we can definitely go over that on Sunday
okay.
or prior. Yeah. But you
All
had
right.
another question for about the budget?
I did actually. We've heard in the press recently about the long-term care facilities and how a number of them have ended up having violations. And in particular, there's one in our ward, Peter Clark. And I was wondering, what is the city planning to do regarding the long-term care facilities, and how do they plan on better funding them for this next year? Because with the COVID situation, I think it's very important that we look at improving the support that we're giving our seniors.
So I can speak to what's happened to date. The province has provided us with quite a few different buckets of money to help to address specifically the COVID pressures. Right now, the highest priority is addressing COVID and the social distancing requirements and the regulatory and health and safety requirements. So we are getting funding from senior levels of government to help with that. We also have the Safe Restart program, which is federal and provincially funded, also for COVID. And we're looking at all our expenditures, including long-term care, what our additional pressures are in 2020 and in 2021, and providing those forecasts to those levels of government to make sure that we can get the funding, because this is a one-time thing. You don't want to increase property taxes or a long-term funding based on a pandemic or a one-time event. You need an influx or backstop funding from senior levels of government to handle that.
Does that answer your question, Jean?
Yeah, it does to some degree. I mean, it does address the COVID situation for now, and but I guess the long-term care facilities, I think that they need more funding on a ongoing basis. So it would be probably something that the city needs to look at, especially with the violations that occurred and how they're going to address those violations.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to work with the province to do that for the longer term view.
Okay. That's all my questions.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Okay, so I see a hand raised from Marjorie Shaver Jones. She's actually the Community Association President of Copeland Park. Marjorie, are you there? Oh. You can click, oh, there you
Yes.
are.
Hear me?
Perfect, wonderful.
Rachel, just an administrative question first.
Yeah.
Why the Zoom meeting isn't functioning the way many that I attend do? I have lost a lot of controls along the bottom of the screen, and I notice on the screen I only see you and Isabel. Why can't I see the other people that are talking? It's useful we don't all know one another, and it's useful to connect faces with names. So although I get a little blurb at the top that says Marjorie Shaver Jones is talking, you know, when some of the other speakers have been talking, it would be useful to see the faces of those people.
Okay, oh, those are individual video settings, and a lot of people choose to keep it off because it keeps the bandwidth low and it keeps the program from lagging.
Well, I've said the controls that usually appear on the bottom of the screen are not there for this meeting.
Really?
So I assumed that was something that you have set.
It's possible. This is a webinar.
Yeah, they weren't there. In my case, the mute unmute has just resurfaced, so I can see it again, but I couldn't see it at the start.
Hmm.
No, I'm talking about all the other speakers.
Well, you should be able to see us. I mean, those of us who have our videos turned on, but others
You
that,
see, the control that would allow me to turn the video on is not there. Normally it would be in the lower left-hand corner of my screen.
oh, okay,
Not
yes.
there.
Oh, I see.
And I've got the same thing actually, Rachel. This is Jean talking.
Hi, Jean.
The same thing. Yeah, the same thing for me is
Oh,
I
you know
can't
why?
see anybody else.
Yes, because you know what though? That's right. That's my fault. No, you're in as attendees instead of panelists. So if you want to pop up on your screen, I can do that for you. Sorry. There we go. There you go. Jean, did you want to be your video turned on as well? Here, about you. And,
Yeah, if you
okay, there you go. I just changed the setting.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So Marjorie, you had questions, dear.
I cannot hear her.
No, Marjorie, you're on mute. There you are.
Okay.
Yeah, I've changed your settings.
Bizarre. Anyway, I'm feeling a little cynical about this budget meeting, as I have for a number of years now, because we started out many years ago asking for a number of things and thinking that our voices would be heard, related to a lot of things that various communities were asking for. And I got the sense that nobody was listening to us. We shortened our list of wants considerably. And for the past number of years, we've asked for two things and no interest in either of those things. The one being rehabilitation or redesign of the Arundel-Glenmount-Clyde intersection. That is a serious problem in this community. And we've complained about it. We've done everything we can do. We've talked to the various city officials who might be able to adjust lights and do things like that. But it's that intersection needs redesign. And we've had accidents. We've had so many near accidents at that corner. And it's where 3 streets come together at a single intersection, but they're a little offset. So it's a disaster waiting to happen. And every single day, our community members take risks to get around that corner. So that's the one thing we've wanted action on. The other thing is, and I realize this is the wrong year to be asking for this, but we've asked for community signage. We think of ourselves as Copeland Park. We like to advertise ourselves as Copeland Park when we do activities like a garage sale. And we say, you know, come to Copeland Park. Nobody knows where it is. And we have asked for some community signage, and nothing's been done with that one either. Those are the two things that have been repeated year after year after year with no effect. I guess I just want to build on something Jean mentioned. Cut through traffic. This is the neighborhood close to her. It's Arundel. And we know with the proposed development on the corner of Baseline and Clyde, the Gulpro development, the 2 towers of 28 and 24 stories, our community is totally against this construction. But if that is built, and even if it's reduced in height, the cut-through traffic caused by that will affect both my community and Bel Air. The cut-through traffic down Arundel is just going to be terrific, just terrific. And we've always had problems with cut-through traffic there, and this is just going to aggravate the issue. So those are my 3 concerns.
Has the developer spoken with you?
No, not a
No?
peep.
Okay, because they told me they were going to.
Well, their consultant,
Yeah.
their new consultant gave me a call and wanted me to tell him what the community's concerns were. And I thought, cripes, you know, we sat through a meeting with community members.
Yeah.
We've told you, we've told through that Zoom meeting, many community members outlined the issues. So to have a consultant come to us at this stage and say, what are the community's issues or concerns? I was ready to flip the phone right over my shoulder. Anyway, it hasn't been a good experience. We don't have any sense that he really wants to make any changes, or anyway, you would know more about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that sounds like it was Jeff Paulwin.
It was.
Yeah, okay. All right, so he can't, he won't be telling me that he got mixed messages from us at least. So I will speak to him again.
Well, there's no mixed message. The community does not want this development.
Yeah.
Nobody, I have not encountered a single person in our community who is in favor of what they are proposing to build on that tiny little lot, which is going to increase traffic. There's no place for parking. There are so many things that are going to be downsides for us in Copeland Park that I just, He's not getting the message.
Yeah, I
Build
think they
somewhere
were a bit
else.
surprised that traffic was the main issue, and it was the main issue. It is the main issue for the number of people who have contacted us.
Yes.
And so you just have to believe it.
Well, I hope you believe it.
I believe it.
We've been talking about it for such a long time.
Yeah.
And that ties into the Arundel Glen Mount Clyde intersection. That's a big issue there. And
Yeah.
that's affecting the baseline Clyde corner and the traffic
Mhm.
there, which is on overload.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we will address that, I guess, then the counselor, and speak to Mr. Polwin. So Marjorie,
Yes.
did you want an answer about the lighting, traffic signals in that corner?
I'm sorry?
Did you want to ask Ms. Jasmine directly about the traffic lights at that corner? As a budget question, or did you want to address that?
Well, in terms of a budget question, it's either it's in the budget or it isn't. Isabel?
I don't know those details. That's a level of
There you
detail below. Yeah, if wait, the budget's being tabled on November 4th, and all the details will be released at that time.
Mhm. So
And you can also participate in the committee meetings.
Mhm. And
You
that
know,
would
the
be
community is so
transportation.
frustrated with this. I doubt very much that anyone will show up for those meetings. We've said our piece over and over and over again, and nobody listens. So, you know, why would I bother going to the meetings? You know, it is just totally frustrating. I'm not just saying that for myself. I'm saying that for the community members that are interested in this.
Marjorie,
Yes, who's that?
Chantal here.
Yes.
Chantal here. I'll give you a call later this week regarding the community entrance signs. I've received a bit more information regarding that. I'm still in the process of working out some of the other details, but I'm still working some of the of all of that stuff, but I'll give you a call on that, okay?
Okay.
Because I have the list of your locations that you had given me, but I've been working
How
on
long
that.
ago was that? Was that 4 years ago I gave you that list?
I wasn't there 4
5?
years ago, but
Yeah, I gave them to your predecessor and your predecessor's predecessor.
We don't have access to those communications, unfortunately, so.
but I have the ones you gave me earlier this summer, but I've been working on that. So it involves several different departments. So I've made some progress on that. So I'll give you a call to update you on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Okay, thanks, everybody. Does anybody have any questions about the capital budget for Ms. Jasmine to answer for you? I don't see any more hands up or anything else like that. Okay, guess what we can do then, we can just do a recap. What I mentioned earlier is I did do a bit of a recap and overview of board activity for the year 2020. So if you'll bear with me, I will pull up the information that I've gathered for you. Okay, that's one there. Oh. Let's see here. Sorry, I did have it handy here. Oops, wrong button. I'm glad this is a small group because this would be really embarrassing otherwise. There we go. Okay, share screen. There we go. Found it. Okay, and everybody can see my screen? Okay. Oops. The heck was that? Okay, so this is our first title page, front page. Welcome to College Ward 8 Draft Budget Public Engagement 2021. So this is our recap. COVID-19 has increased the financial burden on the city, and despite the financial mitigation strategies put in place, the municipality continues to forecast a deficit in 2020. As of June 30th, the programs financed by taxes showed a deficit of 30.2 million, while rate-funded programs had a surplus of 2 million. For the remainder of 2020, the city is forecasting a deficit of 59.6 million for tax-funded programs due to the pandemic. To close the budget gap, the committee approved a deferral of 33 capital projects to 2021 or later. This would put back 42.6 million into various capital reserve funds and fill some of the shortfalls for 2020 if the city does not receive funding from other levels of government, or in this case, further levels of government, because we just did get some funds sent to us by the province. Additional changes to operations may need to be made to the schedules, scope of work, and budget envelopes as they stand now. This includes reallocation of staffing resources, reduced recreational services, and other areas identified during reassessment activities, which those of you who have been in contact with our office on a fairly regular basis have been made aware of due to our the slowdowns in communications at times. And the information that that is just posted here in the recap can be found on the Q2 status report at the link at the bottom of the page. And I can also send this information to you as well so that you have it available. So these are the noteworthy dates. Now, Ms. Jasmine, she had given you these dates already, and she also gave you this little bit of a breakdown of the property tax increase limitations that we will try to limit it to 3% overall. That would leave the average homeowner paying an additional $115 on their annual tax property bill. And this is a bit about how the municipal tax bill is broken up or how it's put together. And the transit levy would increase by 4.6%, which entails a $5 million contribution to capital funds, replacing the canceled provincial plan that would have doubled the gas tax. So, and again, no Wednesday, November 4th, that's when the draft budget will be tabled at council. Public meetings will be held throughout the rest of November, and it will all be culminated together and to be reviewed and approved by council on Wednesday, December 9th. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just given you a breakdown of these third and fourth pages presented by the finance department. I did it this way because I find sometimes it's easier to see everything in sequential order to kind of understand a little bit better about where things sit in relation to other items. For example, you see over here by the numbers, total expenses by service. And this, of course, breaks down all the different areas of those expenses, as well as a percentage of how much of the budget they take. This, I believe, was from the capital, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not. Oh, sorry, no, that's the overall. And over here is the total revenues by your funding source, which was broken down again in a pie chart, but I have also put them in order. for your review if you wish. Done the same thing here with the capital program information presented. These were pages 5 and 6 of the finance department presentation. Again, they were in pie charts, so this is sorted into list form. So from here on, I'm just going to recap briefly of what we've done in College Board for the year 2020. So the word sponsorships and donations for this year. Now, unfortunately with COVID-19, we have unfortunately not been able to communicate or connect with a lot of the agencies or community groups that, or city groups rather, that we usually do support. But this year we did manage to offer our support to 4 different areas. Every year we sponsor the Black History Month Gala, which is presented by the Global Community Alliance, which is a great community group. And the gala is an award ceremony in recognition of achievements by Black youth in the communities, not just our ward, but within the city of Ottawa itself. We also donated to the 2020 Councillors Feed the Hungry Lunch. It was an annual Valentine's Day occurrence. And actually myself and other office members were able to be on hand at the mission this year, and we were able to serve lunch to homeless men and women that came into the shelter. We also made our donations to Shepherds of Good Hope and Wabano Center for Aboriginal Health, as we have historically in the past done. Now, within the community itself, we've been able to support the Bell Highs Bell Highs Pancake Breakfast, and that was in February as well, I believe it was. So we provided donation to help cover the cost of the pancakes and all the yummy goodness that you put on top of them. We've also were able to donate treats and goodies for the Community Association of Briar Green's Family Skate Day, and I believe that was January of last year. And also Nepean's Community Breakfast. So on the next page here, so this year, from our office budget as well, we did offer support to the Kamori Estate levy vote, which was quite an interesting time. So these are just the numbers that of what we spent to make sure that this did happen, and that everybody who was interested was able to cast their vote. So this is a breakdown of the printing information sheets and the ballots, which were sent to all the homes in City View area, as well as the postage and or postage rather, ballots and the return postage for the returning of those filled out ballots. And we also were able to treat some of the first responders and the caregivers that were set up at D.A. Moody COVID testing center over on Moody Road. And we were able to, feed all of them lunch, just as a thank you for taking such good care of our community. So, and another thing that we wanted to bring to you, because a lot of people ask about it, is our cash in lieu fund. So these are the commitments we've made so far this year. Now, Doug for Bell Park has received a great grant from the Community Partnership Major Capital Grant through the East Nepeans Little League. And what we have done is we've committed $70,000 towards the upgrades that they had asked to have funding for. So I don't have the total amounts in front of me, however, they are available. And if you wish to know, but for us, our cash in lieu commitment is $70,000. Now we have also donated $5,000 from the CIL funds to relocate the granite bench that was donated to the community by the Anglican Diocese that had formerly resided on the property of 2112 Bel Air Drive. And I'm very pleased to say that that bench was moved into its new home at Bel Air Park this morning. So fantastic, and it's beautiful. And let's see, Garfield
Can I
Dog.
pipe in and just say thank you very
You're-
much for
Oh,
that?
you're so welcome. I was so happy. I couldn't wait to
Yeah.
tell you.
Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. And thanks for breaking up my droning a little bit, because I know I tend to, you know. Okay, so, other thing in Bel Air Park that we committed to was the Garfield Dog Park. Now there's some fencing that needed to be completed on that area, in that area. And so we committed $15,000 to the completion of that. It is in the planning stage, and the planner should be in touch with the community association to get those plans looked at, revised, and meeting the expectations and the needs of the community itself. And the latest commitment that we've made is to Briar Green Park. We are up for a life cycle replacement of their play structure in spring of 2021, is of course pending the budget being passed by council in December. So this will allow the planners and the development team to make the park bigger and better than what it was, or what it was originally planned. So hopefully that will be underway soon, and hopefully we'll have some more details to offer to the Briar Green community, which would be fantastic. We're very much looking forward to it. So, and this is the last page of my little presentation here, the TTC installations. So this goes to our traffic calming, and that is a big issue through pretty much all of our community, all of Ward 8, all of the city of Ottawa. But it's one of those things that is really important to us, but we also have to be careful that we don't overcommit, just because the budget is limited every year to, I believe it was $50,000. But this is what we've done in 2020. The traffic calming treatments that were reinstated, refreshed, and added within our ward, and they're broken up and down here to kind of give you an idea of what was spent this year. So on the reinstatements, on things like flex stakes, which are removed every year at the end of October, I believe. If they haven't been up by now, they should be up within the next few days. And so those get reinstated every year, and refreshments such as line painting, which does get done from time to time. So $5,600 was put towards that this year. We also have $7,699 worth of different new installations that would include additional flex stakes. There was some pavement marking done, and also speed boards. Now I believe there was 3 off the top of my head, but I'd have to double check. So those were installed this year. We have multiple traffic calming treatments being reviewed right now by the traffic department. So overall, the value of that, give or take, which is an estimate, about $20,000 to in new installments that may or may not be able to be installed next year. We'll see what happens, but we'll keep everybody posted as they do come in and get approved. And of course, I had to add the labor cost, because they are, it is an important cost that often gets overlooked when a new measure is installed. So it's there just for posterity, nothing to be scared of, but it is something that we do have to consider when we're looking at the overall budget. So that is the end of our, well, I guess the end of our meeting actually, but are there any questions about this at all, or? Sorry, I've droned on a little bit. Sorry. But yeah, so don't see any hands up. I guess there's no questions.
Probably because the little symbol for hands up has disappeared off the screen.
Oh, that's because, yes, but you've been promoted to panelist, so you can just click.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I have a question about that last slide. Can you put it up again?
I can
Just
do
the-
that. Okay,
Oh.
go back to share screen. Oh, go deficit, okay. And go to the last one. Okay, there we go. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Under review, $20,400.
Yes.
What is this? Consultants reports? Or what is that $20,400?
Okay, that would be a combination of labor and the cost of buying new equipment, or such as speed
You
boards and
Labor,
workstations.
it's 15,700.
That's what's
So I'm,
so the 50,700 is what we spent in labor for this installations that were made last year, in 2020.
so that means that the figure for reinstatements and refreshments is a faulty number, because that doesn't include the cost to put those things in place. So
No.
I should know what?
No, because I separated them, and I probably should have labeled them a little bit more clearer. So the statements of refreshments that cost, that's up here now, the $5,600. That is the treatments themselves. That does not include the labor.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
the under
so
review
those
part,
two numbers together, the 15,700 and the 5,670,
yeah,
together constitute the reinstatements and refreshments, right?
yes. And the labor would also cover what the new stuff was as well, which was the 7,600. So I did not put them in the right spot, and that's my mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little confused about this under review.
Okay, yeah.
What does that constitute?
Okay, well, what's going on about that? What happens with the under review is that it's basically what happens is it's basically in limbo right now. What happens is we get a request, say, for a new speed board, and we say, okay, well, we have to send it for a feasibility review. That request goes to the traffic department, and they perform the under review. But what they're taking is the cost of what we're asking for. It's an estimate is what it is. So it's basically looking at the cost of what we're asking for, the maximum it probably would cost, including labor, materials, et cetera, and that gets added to the under review cost. And there's more than one item, like we have several.
But but this report is for the year past. So you should
Well, it's
know
current,
exactly.
well, it's up to date. But under review, the thing is, when something's under review, there's no actuals because it's just an estimate. It's like,
And there's no
Right.
cost either,
Yeah.
because it is a part of your own, it's a part of the city that is doing the review. Is that correct?
well, it's more like a amount that's kind of, what's it called? It's like an upset limit, or like when you give a lawyer, for example, a retainer, it's that kind of an idea. You withhold a certain amount.
Rachel?
Pardon?
It's
This is-
Ron here. I
Hi.
think the way I would describe this from my readings are that you have spent the $5,600 and the $7,700, so call it $13,300 has been spent.
Okay,
I'm not sure the status of the labor, but the 20,400 appears to have been committed but not yet spent. In other words, you've got the total of these four numbers is almost $50,000,
which is our
of which
budget.
either 13 or 28,000, depending on whether the labor is spent or part of the under review. In other words, you've basically committed to you've either spent or committed to spend 50,000. Would that be a fair enough statement?
Well, I guess so. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
I wish you can see my mouse here. Darn it.
It's what you refer to as the retainer for a lawyer is you committed to spend it, whether it gets fully spent or not is another question.
Exactly, yes. That's what the under review
But
is.
you cannot commit it a second time.
That's right.
Thus,
No,
as I say,
so-
out of the 50,000, it appears you have spent either 13, in other words, the 5.7 and the 7.7 combined. And I'm not sure if the labor is part of the under review or it was spent as part of the reinstatements and new.
As part of the reinstatements and new, I did not put it in the right spot. I
Okay.
accidentally put it in the wrong spot.
So you spent 29, call it $30,000 out of roughly 50,000.
Yes,
Okay. Marjorie, does that help?
Well, I think you're guessing, Ron. Thanks for trying to help, but I think you're not any more sure of exactly what this means than I am. You're kind of guessing at what was spent and what wasn't, and what's been committed and what wasn't, and that's, anyway, Rachel will find the answers to those.
yes. I will give you the actual numbers. I have a full list. Does anybody else have any questions, or are we okay, or? 'Cause we can make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, I move we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, second?
I second it.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Bye all.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.